Welcome to the U.S. Open Tennis Championships. The greatest tournament in the world. To succeed at this high level of competitive tennis, proper conditioning is a must. Conditioning gives your serve the power to send aces past your opponent. It gives you the stamina to play in top form throughout your matches. Plus, it gives you the muscular endurance to get to the ball repeatedly through long rallies. Planning and following the right conditioning program will help you play your competitive best.
Technique and stroke mechanics are just part of what it takes to be a competitive tennis player. A conditioning program that takes into account the physical demands of tennis will pull everything together and help you play like a pro. In this video, we'll show you how to design a conditioning program that'll put you in top physical shape. We'll show you how to build your fitness base, peak for competition, and recover without losing a step.
Before starting your conditioning program, you'll want to test various facets of your physical fitness. Fitness testing can help players and coaches pinpoint strengths and weaknesses, design or refine a training program, and monitor progress. From the test results, you can determine which areas you need to improve to perform better and prevent injuries. The USTA has designed a fitness testing program that examines the key components of physical fitness. Strength, to help you send the ball past your opponent at high speed. Muscular endurance, allowing you to repeatedly hit the ball with force. Power, to help you develop racket head speed and an explosive first step.
45.8.
Agility, to help you change directions and stay balanced. Speed, which helps you get to the ball in time to execute excellent stroke technique. Flexibility, giving you the range of motion to execute strokes with the most efficient form. Aerobic capacity, for the stamina to be energetic and alert the entire match. And body composition, a measurement that reflects your overall fitness.
In particular,
fitness testing helps players and coaches plan a conditioning program and set goals. Plus, players can be retested periodically to evaluate their conditioning program. By comparing preseason with mid-season test results, players and coaches can make modifications for further improvements in weaker areas.
With your test results, you can plan your conditioning program like the pros. We suggest a 4-phase conditioning program. The first phase, the preparation phase, helps build your fitness base. The second phase, the pre-competition phase, works on speed, agility, power, and strength. The third phase, the competition phase, focuses on fine-tuning your play and peaking for competition. And finally, the fourth phase, the active rest phase, is dedicated to recovery and maintenance. Before we get into the details of the 4-phase conditioning program, you need to understand the essentials of the tennis workout.
Every workout will include an active warm-up, stretching, tennis practice, a conditioning session, and a cool-down. Before stretching, start every workout with a 3 to 5 minute active warm-up. This involves light, low-intensity exercise, such as slow jogging or stationary cycling. It warms your core temperature and gets your body ready to stretch and exercise. After the warm-up, perform static stretching exercises. Static stretching involves holding a position that lengthens a muscle group and its associated connective tissue. The next part of your workout will include on-court skills and play. This might include drills, simulated point play, or technique sharpening exercises. After the tennis practice session, you'll do some aerobic, muscular endurance, strength, power, or agility conditioning.
Good rhythm, excellent. Ready?
This might include jogging, strength training, sprints, or drills. After the conditioning portion of your workout, your muscles are completely warmed up. This is a great time to work on increasing your flexibility and cooling down. These are the essentials of any good tennis workout: warm-up and stretching, tennis practice, conditioning, flexibility, and cool down.
Professional tennis players have year-round conditioning programs so they can peak for major tournaments. Players who have seasons, like high school and collegiate players, can use this same conditioning program by modifying it. I'll tell you how as we discuss the 4-phase program.
Players are required to make between 300 to 500 bursts of energy over the course of a match. Aerobic stamina and muscular endurance are often the difference between winning or losing the last set. To play your best, you need to build a strong base of both aerobic and anaerobic conditioning. Aerobic exercise is continuous long-duration activities like jogging, biking, and stair climbing. These activities give you a base of conditioning that allows you to recover more quickly between points. Anaerobic exercise is short-duration, high-intensity movements like sprinting to the net or lunging for a wide shot. Tennis is mainly an anaerobic sport involving speed, power, strength, and agility. However, matches can last a long time, so having an aerobic base will help you have the stamina to make it through the match. Thus, it's important to prepare for competition by building both aerobic and anaerobic bases. In the preparation phase, we recommend low-intensity, high-volume aerobic exercise. This means you should exercise aerobically at 60 to 75% of your maximal heart rate at least 3 times a week for 20 to 30 minutes. Your anaerobic training in the preparation phase will focus on muscular endurance with strength training. Again, you'll do low-intensity, high-volume work. Do many repetitions. We suggest 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions at a low resistance. Although the tennis stroke involves the entire body, it's particularly important to increase muscular endurance in the shoulder and trunk. First, let's look at a variety of exercises, beginning with the larger muscles of the shoulder and upper back and finishing with the smaller ones. Select 2 or 3 of these exercises for each workout session. Exercises that work the larger muscles of the shoulder and upper back include the seated row, the bent over row, the lat pull down, the prone fly, and the upright row. Exercises that work the smaller muscles of the shoulder include external rotation while lying on your side, the side raise, shoulder extension, external rotation while kneeling, external rotation while standing, and scaption. Exercises that work the muscles of the trunk include the crunch, the crossover crunch, the Superman, hyperextension, reverse hyperextension, hip raise,
Good. Again.
and hip rotation. These exercises will improve your ability to hit the ball forcefully throughout your matches. More importantly, they'll help prevent injuries that often occur due to the repetitive stresses of tennis.
The preparation phase is the foundation of your tennis conditioning. Remember, the focus of the preparation phase is low intensity and high volume of work. Work on your aerobic conditioning with 20 to 30 minute aerobic workouts at 60 to 75% of your maximum heart rate 3 to 4 times a week. You'll establish your muscular endurance base with high repetitions, 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps, and low resistance strength training. For the competitive tennis player who plays year-round, the preparation phase can last from 8 to 10 weeks. Seasonal players may have a shorter preparation phase. They are often encouraged to get in shape before the official season begins. Off-season training can be very helpful for the player if official pre-season training time is abbreviated. A couple of weeks before your first match, you'll change your conditioning program. You'll enter the pre-competition phase.
Competitive tennis requires quick bursts of speed to cover the court. In advanced level tennis, the average point lasts less than 10 seconds. The average rest is 18 to 20 seconds between points. And players rarely run more than 4 to 5 steps in one direction during a point.
The pre-competition phase concentrates your conditioning. Now it's time to work speed, agility, strength, and power. You'll turn up the intensity and make your workout more tennis-specific.
After building your aerobic and anaerobic base, the pre-competition phase steps up your anaerobic conditioning. Focusing on speed, agility, strength, and power helps you improve the fitness components essential to competitive tennis play. During the conditioning part of your workout, you'll do high-intensity speed and agility drills, strength training, and power exercises.
Light touches. Go.
We use tennis-specific movement drills that are fun and creative. The drills closely mimic typical tennis movements, so players who love tennis enjoy the on-court drills. The following drill uses ground strokes and really prepares you for a game situation.
The purpose of the forehand-only drill is to improve lateral movement along the baseline. The receiver stands in the ready position at the center of the baseline. Another player or coach stands on the other side of the net with a basket of balls. The feeder hits balls to either side of the receiver. The receiver can only hit forehands, so she has to run along the baseline to get into position to hit the ball. The forehand-only drill is great for working on inside-out and inside-in forehands. Another ground stroke drill is called turn, turn, turn. This drill reinforces rotation of your body necessary for early preparation for ground strokes. The receiver stands on the baseline in one of the alleys. A cone is set up cross-court as a target. A feeder drops 4 to 6 balls, one at a time, while backing up slowly toward the net. The receiver alternates hitting forehands and backhands aiming at the target. Quick footwork is the key in this drill. Concentrate on rotating fully in preparation for the next shot.
The work-rest ratio in a tennis match is 1 unit of work to 3 units of rest. To mimic match play, you'll want to structure some of your drills with the 1 to 3 work-rest ratio in mind. The next drill also uses the 1 to 3 work-rest ratio and helps train you to close in at the net.
The drill close and drop works on both forward and backward movement and reinforces closing in while at the net. You can vary the duration of the drill to 30 seconds work and 90 seconds rest to be similar to an actual tennis point. In the close and drop drill, both the player and feeder are on the same side of the net. The feeder kneels at the net on the service line facing the other player. The receiver waits near the service boxes with racket in hand. Two cones are set up on the other side of the net as targets. The feeder alternates tossing balls to the left and right side, forcing the receiver to sprint up and hit a drop shot at one of the cones. After each shot, the receiver backpedals as quickly as possible to the starting position. Perform the drill for 30 seconds and rest for 90 seconds.
There are many drills from which to choose, and you can make up your own. One way to make them more fun is to add competition. Players can compete against each other or against themselves by keeping track of past scores.
This next drill is good for developing speed, agility, and change of direction in a competitive format. The object of mini tennis is to play a game in the service boxes using backspin shots only. The server begins the game by serving from the deuce court with a backspin shot. The game proceeds as normal, except all shots must bounce in the service box, and all returns must be made using backspin. In the pre-competition phase, strength training combined with plyometric exercises can improve your strength and power. Your strength training workouts will differ from the preparation phase where you did many repetitions at a low resistance. Now you'll do 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions 3 times per week with increased resistance.
We use a variety of plyometric exercises like the alley hops to help build explosive power.
Plyometric exercise employs an eccentric or lengthening muscular action followed by an explosive concentric or shortening action. The lengthening action stretches the muscle and tissues surrounding the muscle, enabling the shortening action to be more forceful.
Ready?
Alley hops are an example of plyometric exercise for tennis. They help build power in the legs for charging the net and exploding through an overhead.
And one more time through.
One player stands with one foot on the outside of the doubles alley and jumps to the other side of the alley. The player immediately changes direction and repeats the jump and direction change sequence to the net. Rest period for this exercise, as with many tennis exercises, is based on the 1 to 3 work-rest ratio, so the 5-second work will be followed by a 15-second rest. Another good tennis-specific plyometric exercise is medicine ball mini tennis. Players stand on both sides of the net and throw a medicine ball over the net to their opponent. The other player catches the ball on the bounce and, using a forehand or backhand motion, returns the ball over the net. This drill is excellent for building power in the legs, trunk, and upper body and can be performed in a competitive format. In the pre-competition phase, you're working on speed, agility, and power with drills. You're increasing muscular strength with a strength training workout of 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions 3 times a week with increased resistance.
Remember, in the pre-competition phase, you're doing high-intensity and low-volume workouts. Maintain your aerobic base with 2 20 to 30-minute workouts per week. And don't forget your warm-up and flexibility. The pre-competition phase can last 3 to 4 weeks for professionals and 4 to 6 weeks for seasonal players. It's finally here, the competition you've been working toward. You've set your aerobic and anaerobic base. You've worked on your speed, agility, strength, and power. Your skills are honed. Now you need to sharpen your training to reach your peak.
The competitive or peaking phase is the week right before your tournament. Focus on short duration and high intensity work, tapering your workouts. Players usually don't do any aerobic training or strength training during the competition phase. Instead, they focus on match play goals and high-intensity short-duration anaerobic drills. These drills would include tennis-specific drills like the transition drill. This drill focuses on hitting a sequence of 3 shots, a forehand volley, a backhand volley, and an overhead. This is done as the player advances to the net to win the point. The receiver sprints forward to the center service line, split steps, and hits a forehand volley. Immediately after that, the receiver hits a backhand volley while closing in toward the net. The final shot in the sequence is an overhead while backing up. This is a great competition phase drill because it simulates match play and helps work on game strategy. Controlling the net really puts pressure on your opponent. A great drill to help you aggressively work the net is the high-low drill, which helps teach you how much reach you have at the net, while you take only one step in either direction. The receiver stands ready at the net. A feeder feeds balls from the opposite side service line. The receiver alternates hitting a high forehand, following a low backhand volley for a series of 10 shots.
Okay, let's push again. Come on, Chris.
After a short rest, the receiver alternates from a high backhand to a low forehand. When doing this drill, focus on proper body rotation while hitting the volleys. Covering the net helps you dominate each point. A drill that helps you improve your movement at the net is called Protect Your Turf. The receiver stands in the center of one of the service boxes. A feeder stands on the opposite side of the center service line. The feeder rapidly feeds balls so that the receiver must move back and forth and side to side quickly to hit the balls. Use a split step when changing directions. This drill not only helps your racket skills at the net, but also your footwork.
Remember, the focus of the competition phase is the competition. This is a time to reap the benefits of your conditioning program. Do only those activities that will help you with your matches. Then, have fun and play hard.
After the competition, you need to recover from the physical and mental stress of high competition. The active rest phase consists of low-intensity cross-training to maintain conditioning. During the active rest phase, refine your conditioning plan based on your performance. This is a good time to reflect on your strengths and your weaknesses so you can improve your play for the next competition, whether it's next week or next month.
Excellent.
Let's review the phases of competitive tennis conditioning. The preparation phase is when you establish your aerobic and muscular endurance base. You'll be doing low-intensity, high-volume workouts. This will be the off-season for seasonal players. The pre-competition phase is when you really step up your intensity but reduce your volume of work. The main focus of this phase is increasing strength, power, speed, and agility. The competition phase includes the week right before your competition, as well as the competition itself. Your focus is clear. Play your best and look to win. Once the competition is over, you'll need to recover. The active rest phase begins right after your last match. You'll stay active, but do low-intensity, low-volume exercises. The most important aspect to remember when planning a conditioning program is to make it fun. Know the benefits, be enthusiastic, and be positive about all the improvements you make. This attitude will ensure that you stick to your conditioning program so you can reach your competitive peak. Welcome to the USTA Player Development Headquarters on Key Biscayne, Florida. During this program, you will be introduced to the principles behind a strength training program designed specifically for tennis players. Using examples of exercises on the court, in the weight room, and on the road, we will show you how easy it is to work strength training into your overall conditioning regimen for tennis. Players often ask why strength training is important for tennis. If you follow the careers of athletes such as Jim Courier, Andre Agassi, Martina Navratilova, or Jimmy Connors, you'll see that they've incorporated strength training into their workouts, both for injury prevention and performance enhancement. To explain the principles behind a strength training program for tennis, we've enlisted the help of Dr. Don Chu, a member of the USTA Sports Science Committee and a noted expert on strength training and plyometrics. Now let's join Don on court.
Strength is an important component of fitness. The United States Tennis Association recognizes that strength training is a safe and sound activity. Strength training programs should always be done on a prescribed basis and under correct supervision. Remember, the purposes of strength training are the ability to absorb impact when we play tennis and to exert more forces when we play tennis. This enables us to hit the ball harder and to run faster. With these things in mind, let's go start our strength training program.
You're looking at the faces of highly dedicated tennis players. These athletes have successfully used strength training to achieve many of their goals.
And I do sit-ups daily, and also I do some arm exercises with some bands that I have that have been real helpful. So I try to work both the legs and the arms and try to make both strong, which I think is important.
I feel that strength training can be real helpful to your game because the trend in the last couple of years on the tour is to go to a more powerful game, and there's bigger, stronger, better athletes playing the game nowadays. A lot of very good players, and I feel that all over body strength, upper body, lower body can benefit you in longer matches, 3 out of 5 matches in Grand Slam tournaments.
Strength training can give you that edge in reaching your ultimate potential. Now, let's talk about warm-up. The purpose of warm-up is to raise the body's core temperature so that it works more efficiently in preparation for a workout or match. The first exercise you see is form running. Form running is done to prepare the lower extremities for more stressful activities, such as sprinting across the court. Note that the thigh comes up to a 45-degree angle. The arms are relaxed, and the swing comes from the shoulder. The next activity is side slides. These are intended to mimic lateral movement along the baseline. The arm swing is simply to loosen the shoulders and get them ready for more vigorous swinging activities. The karaoke step is an activity which prepares the tennis player for crossover steps and other activities which require the hips to rotate. Backpedaling is useful to warm up the hamstring and calf areas for those abrupt stops, starts, and direction changes that occur in tennis. When backpedaling, the feet should be shoulder-width apart and the body slightly lowered to increase the stability of the player. The 2-up, 1-back drill is also intended to prepare the tennis player for lateral changes in direction and other similar movements in a match. Our second principle is assessment, which allows us to establish a baseline of strength as a fitness component.
We're going to perform a couple of tests here with these athletes that will give us some information about them, not only their starting point, but also a guideline for development so that we can see the effect of a strength training program over time. Now, Justin, what we're going to ask you to do is a local muscular test for the forearm muscles called a grip strength. So we want you to stand in a basic position called the anatomical position with your hands slightly out to the side like this, and you're just going to squeeze that dynamometer just as hard as you can. All right? And good. Now, what I want you to do is let's do that one more time, and that'll be your rest interval. You squeeze it for me one more time as hard as you can. Hold it for 3 seconds now. Ready? Squeeze. 1, 2, 3, relax. Okay? All right, that's a very good score. We'll record that and we'll know where your starting point is. Now, Paul, let's have you do the same thing. I'll reset the dynamometer. We're going to stand. Make sure you stand in kind of a basic position, resting there, both feet even. All right, now go ahead and squeeze that. Give us your all-out maximal. All right, ready? Go. 1, 2, 3. And you can see the forearm muscles working real hard here, and relax. Good, okay, and we have that measurement. And let's do it one more time so we can get a second trial on this now, okay? All right, ready? Squeeze. 1, 2, 3. Great. All right, now we've got some baseline data on these athletes as far as their grip strength goes for their forearm muscles. Now we'd like to assess what they can do with their total body. So we'll go to a test which requires them to use all of their body in a very functional kind of activity. Okay, Justin, this throw is a forehand side throw. So what we want you to do is just start with both feet planted on the ground, pivot your side in that direction and throw as far as you can, okay? Just like a forehand stroke, okay? All right, here we go. Ready? Good throw. Okay. Now we'll mark that distance and we'll have an idea of how far you threw it and we'll give you a second trial here. Okay, now really pop that hip through. Good strong pivot, plant your feet solid. Very good, much better. Now let's do the same thing from the backhand side. So this time you're going to basically take the same starting stance and then you're going to pivot the other side and throw from the backhand side. All right, ready? Go. Good. Let's do it one more time. Same thing. Both feet shoulder width apart and throw. Good. So now you get to stand with the ball in this position, take one step to the line and throw it out there as far as you can using both hands over your head. Okay, so,
like that?
Yep. All right, ready? Throw. Good. All right, now you get to take a step. So you same thing. Start here, feet shoulder width apart. Okay. We've got that ball? Okay. Feet shoulder width apart, and you get to take one step. Okay, ready? Throw. Good. Okay, the last test we're going to do is a backward throw. Now this is kind of a measure of your ability to develop just strength and power in a vertical explosion fashion. So what you're going to do is stand with your heels against that line. You're going to drop the ball down between your legs and then explode backwards with it, throwing it back as far as you can. All right? Really give it a rip now. There you go. Good. Good. You get an A for accuracy. Excellent. All right, let's do it one more time now. Okay, really use the legs, Justin. They're really important in this. Good. And that one's even further. Very good throw.
Overload means placing more stress on the body than it is accustomed to. Performing an exercise with added resistance represents an overload. Adaptation is related to overload because it means your body will get stronger as you continue to use resistance in an exercise movement. For example, adding weight or repetitions will result in the body getting stronger over time.
Okay, our first exercise is a front squat to a push press, Shannon. And what we want you to do is pick up the ball, put it right on your chest with your elbows up and your hips and knees slightly flexed, okay? Let's go ahead and start there. That's our starting position. And our second position is to drop into a squat and by pushing the hips back. We want the knees over the toes or just slightly in back, and your elbows up a little bit. Okay. Bring them forward just a little bit so your back is nice and firm. And as you stand up, then we're going to push the ball overhead, okay? All in one move. So here we go now. We're going to squat and push. Very good. And we're going to do this going down, and we're going to control that speed. Moderate speed going down and going up, we can just rapidly kind of accelerate the ball upward. Very good. Okay. Go ahead and put that down. Now, the second station that we have here is rope jumping. And Jonathan, why don't you pick this up? This is a 2-pound weighted rope. And we're going to have you just go ahead and just do a simple little routine of rope jumping here. And the big thing here is because the rope is weighted, it's going to give you a lot of extra resistance in the forearms and in the upper extremities in general. All right, real good. Thanks. Now, the third station is a back squat. And Jonathan, why don't we grab you for this one because you do this pretty well. And we're going to start with the ball on the back, on the shoulders, and you'll drop into the squat position. And let me turn you sideways here so we can get a real good view of the relationship of your hips and knees here. And drop into that squat position, pushing the hips back. The upper body will go slightly forward just like you did. And you control the descent and you come up rapidly. Super job. All right, great. Thank you. And the next exercise, come on, Shannon. We'll do this one for you. This is a shoulder press. And again, you're going to start with your knees and hips slightly flexed, standing on the surgical tubing. And the hands will be right by the shoulders, right in front, turned outward. Okay? And go ahead and just do a little dip and then drive the hands straight up over the head. Very good. Good resistance for the shoulders. Feel that?
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to use the whole body and get a little bit of extra for the upper extremities. All right, great. Nice job. All right, now the next exercise is trunk rotation. Jonathan, why don't you go ahead and sit down here. On this one, we're going to want you to pick up the ball with both hands. It'll be placed right at the middle of your low back. And you're going to turn the shoulders so that you get a 90-degree angle between the shoulders and the legs, so that you turn and pick up, bring the ball all the way around, put it down, leave it, go back and get it again. And you'll do that for the specified amount of time, and then we'll ask you to reverse directions. So now you'll come this way. Good. And one more turn. That's great shoulder and trunk rotation. And of course, on this exercise, you're building the oblique muscles across this area, so it looks real good. Thank you. All right, Shannon. This is a crossover lunge. We're going to have you put the ball behind the neck. And from this position, you're going to balance. And this is the same movement that you'd use if you're going after a low volley. So we want you to step across and push back and step the opposite way. Good job. And again, you're doing a real good job. Make sure that you keep the knee behind the toe or over it. Perfect. And the back's fairly straight and upright. Nice control. Very good.
To prevent injuries, burnout, and poor performance, we use the principles of periodization. This means varying your year-round training program to change the stress and intensity of your workouts, as well as the total amount of work that you're doing. There are 4 basic phases in periodization. Phase 1 is a preparation phase, corresponding to the off-season of a tennis player. It should include high volumes of work done at low intensity. For example, 3 or 4 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions of a particular exercise done with moderate resistance. In Phase 2, the volume of work should decrease and the intensity should increase. An example of this would be 4 sets of 5 to 6 repetitions with a moderate to heavy resistance. Phase 3 represents the competitive season in tennis. This phase is most concerned with maintaining the strength gains achieved in the earlier phases. Ideally, the athlete works out twice a week, using the same volume and intensity of work as in Phase 2. However, travel and competitive schedules sometimes force players to seek alternative methods of training. Phase 4 is a special time called active rest. It is a time for recovery from the stresses of the competitive season. It's an opportunity for tennis players to be active in other sports or methods of training. This is intended to be a non-competitive time. Single joint exercises isolate the muscles that are the primary movers around one particular joint. These exercises may be useful in development of specific strengths, but are not as valuable as multi-joint exercises in developing a tennis player's on-court abilities.
Here we have an exercise device called the knee extension. Janelle is going to demonstrate with me today the proper use of this machine. Now we're going to be working a single joint here, just the knee joint, and we're going to be working those muscles particularly across the front of the thigh that are responsible for extending the knee. So Janelle, in order to make sure that this machine fits you, we want to make sure that this pad is adjusted to the proper position on your shin. So it should be just a little bit above the ankle, and the axis of the machine should be lined up with the axis of your knee joint. And that looks pretty good there. And we know that that's in pretty good position because we've adjusted the backrest here as well to get you there. Now there's some handles here on the side, and I want you to hold lightly onto these. And go ahead and extend or straighten out your legs all the way up. Good, and lower it slowly with control. We don't want to slam the weights or make a lot of noise with those. Okay, Janelle, thanks. That was a great set.
Thank you.
Multi-joint exercises are those which require the simultaneous use of more than one joint in the body. The entire body may be involved in performing these exercises.
Now we have Emmett positioned in an exercise machine which is designed as a multi-joint machine. We talked about a single joint machine. This is a multi-joint machine. He's going to work the hip, the knee, and the ankle all simultaneously. So Emmett, why don't you go ahead and extend and push yourself up against the weights, and we'll move these handles. And go ahead and lower yourself till your knees are at about 90 degrees and then push right back up. We're going to do a set of 5. Now a good multi-joint exercise uses the entire lower extremities. Okay, that's good. Thanks, Emmett. That was a great performance.
Structural exercises are also large muscle group activities. They are generally multi-joint exercises.
One of the most important exercises in any strength training program is the squat. Emmett's going to demonstrate how to properly do a squat for us. The first thing we're going to be concerned about is the back. We want him to lock up the back and to arch it slightly in extension so that it's very solid. Then we're going to ask him to unlock the hip and the knee. So he's going to go into slight flexion. All right, and then Emmett, go ahead and go down into the squat position. He's going to push his hips back, and you note that his upper body will go slightly forward, and his knee will be over the toe, not necessarily in front of the toe. And as he comes back, he comes to the upright position. Now, we'll have Emmett do another repetition, and we'll ask him to control the descent, or the lowering of the bar, and then to come up at a more rapid pace. Okay? Go ahead, Emmett. Down slowly. Good. Now up fairly quick. Good. And this allows him to build not only strength but power in the lower extremities as well. This exercise is considered to be both a multi-joint exercise and a major structural exercise as well.
What we mean by specific exercises is specific to tennis. These exercises utilize the same muscle groups and mimic the same motions used in tennis play. They can be used as performance enhancers or to prevent injuries.
There are certain machines that we can use as specific tennis exercise machines. Now, the rotary torso machine is such a device. As I get into the machine, I want to make sure that I've adjusted the seat so that my shoulders fit snugly up against the pads. My feet should rest against the bars here and my knees firmly up against these pads. I should have 90 degrees at the hip and the knee. My hands will grip these handles, but only to pull my shoulders to the pads. I should not be pulling with the hands or with the arms. I want to turn this device with my shoulders in this fashion, and it's a great trunk muscle exerciser, and particularly exercising the oblique muscles on the sides of the trunk.
Muscular balance means developing opposing muscle groups equally to prevent injuries.
Janelle is going to perform 2 exercises for us, which are intended to balance the arm as well as strengthen the muscles in the front of the arm, known as the biceps, and the back of the arm, known as the triceps. Now, we're going to ask her to do what's called a neutral or hammer curl. She's going to bend the elbow and bring the weight up to touch the shoulder, and the thumb will be in the up position, or the neutral position. And then she'll return to the starting position, and she'll repeat that 4 times. That's repetition number 2. And you can see that she's working the bicep muscle across the front of the arm as well as the forearm muscles down in the forearm. Okay, from here she's going to bring the arm up, and we're going to do what's called a tricep press. From here she's going to extend the arm and bring the weight straight up over her head. And she's going to repeat that action, and this exercise isolates and works the tricep muscle. One more. Great set, Janelle. Thank you. And you can just drop your arm down, and we'll go back to the starting position.
Supervision of proper technique in the performance of resistance exercises is always a part of good strength training principles. Supervision may include hands-on direction as well as verbal instruction. This is important on court as well as in the weight room. Injury prevention means preparing the muscles through strength training for the stresses of competitive tennis play.
The intention here is to work on the stabilizers of the scapular area and the shoulder in the back here. So what we want you to do is just wind up with one hand, bringing it back to this position and holding that for a second and then letting it go slowly so it doesn't just drop back, but there's actually some tension associated with that. So you pull back in a wind up position and then control that. And these muscles across the back here are having to pull and stabilize the scapula and giving you good control of what's going on here in the back of the shoulder area. Let's try it on the other hand. And we'll work the opposite side here, of course, for muscle balance and making sure that we pay attention to both sides even though you may be a right hand or left hand dominant player. Okay. All right, this next station is a split squat, and what we want you to do, Shannon, on this one is just assume a position where the leg's already out in front, okay? So you'll be in a split squat position, put the ball on the back of the neck, and one leg out in front of the other. And just hold that position. You go down, almost touch the back knee, just come up and then drop down again. Okay? And then we'll switch the other leg. Okay? Now now switch to the other leg. Okay. And just hold this position. Don't come back. There you go. Now come up and then back down and then back up and then back down. Great. Okay. Okay, here we go, Jonathan. Come on. Well, the next exercise are side lunges, and we're going to use a surgical tubing, and we have a belt here that'll go around the waist. And with this particular exercise, you're going to step out to the side using the hip muscles to both push out and to stabilize yourself. Good. And you can see that the drive leg back here gets a lot of work, as well as the front leg when it stabilizes. Good. And switch sides. Real good exercise for improving lateral movement. All right, Shannon, this next exercise is a seated row. You're going to assume a position with your legs straight out and a little tension on the cords. Okay, and we're going to arch the back a little bit, make this real solid. You're going to pull the handles right to your abdominal area. Down low and squeeze the shoulder blades back here. Beautiful. Let's do a couple more of those. Real good. And a little abdominal curl here. We're going to have Jonathan up against the fence here with the surgical tubing right by his shoulders. Okay, he's going to tighten the abdominal muscles as he pulls down, and he's going to put the elbows right on the knee. Very good. And notice how he controls his ascent, or the coming up phase of this particular exercise. He doesn't just bounce back up with the resistance of the tubing. He controls this motion so he gets exercise going down as well as coming back up from the back muscles and the abdominal muscles. Again, very important. And Shannon, you're going to demonstrate the bench step up and press. So we'll start with one leg up on the bench, and you're going to, as you go up, you'll drive the ball to an overhead position as well. Up, good, and down. Again, and then we'll switch legs. Okay, good. Now go ahead and switch legs. Real good. All right, very good.
Motivation can be maintained throughout a strength training program, wherever you are, by setting goals for yourself, making sure that you have variety in your exercises, and even setting up friendly competitions with another player. Maintenance is the retention of strength gained during the preparation and pre-competitive phases of training. Often, maintenance is difficult to achieve while on the road. So here are some things you can do at home or in your hotel room.
Deb, why don't you start out, and we're going to use a simple phone book, and we're going to do a front raise exercise for the deltoid muscles. So we're going to take the book and just go ahead and grasp it like that and just raise the book up. Exactly. Now this way we're going to be able to work the deltoid muscles in the front of the shoulders, and the weight of the telephone book is going to act as the resistance. Good. All right, so we find out that there's all kinds of things laying around a hotel room that we can actually use to help us exercise. Now, Julie, why don't we do an exercise for the triceps? We're also still working on the upper extremities here, and Julie's going to do a tricep dip. Go ahead. And she's going to stabilize her hands on the edge of the chair, and she's going to move her body weight up and down. She's using her body weight as the major resistance for this particular exercise. And it's a pretty good exercise. This next exercise is a rotator cuff muscle exercise for the shoulder. Rachel's going to demonstrate using a piece of surgical tubing which has been securely attached to that cabinet over there. Rachel's going to keep her elbow at 90 degrees, and she's going to pull the surgical tubing towards her, moving the arm inwards. So this is called internal rotation, and when we work the internal rotators, we need to balance the muscles of the shoulder, so we're going then to work the external rotators also. So by doing that, we could turn Rachel around, but for demonstration purposes, we're going to show you with her other hand. She's going to take the surgical tubing, bring her arm at 90 degrees, keep the elbow close to the side, and pull the surgical tubing away from her body. Now this works the muscles in the back of the shoulder. The other exercise worked the front of the shoulder. And you can see that it's a good, tough exercise, but it will definitely help prevent some of those shoulder problems that often come up in tennis. Our next exercise is going to involve the use of the abdominals and the back muscles. Very important for the tennis player to develop strong trunk muscles. So this next exercise is going to be demonstrated by Julie, and it's called chinnies. In this exercise, she's going to lean back on a 45-degree angle with her elbows out in front of her, and she's going to cycle the knees to the elbows. Ready? Begin. This works the lower abdominals as well as the hip flexor muscles and really gives her an opportunity to develop those muscles that are necessary for speed in running. That's great. Now again, we want to balance the system. So Julie, go ahead and roll over on your stomach. And we're now going to use the extensor muscles of the back and the lower buttocks area. And in this particular exercise, we call this the Superman. So Julie's going to demonstrate that for us. Okay, Julie, come on up. She raises both her upper body and arms and her lower extremities, holds for a good pause of about 2 seconds, and then goes back to the ground and repeats. Great. And this, of course, then works all of those muscles that support the spine and the back area, and also, again, those muscles that are important for running and moving quickly across the court. Now, on this particular exercise, this is a great exercise for the oblique muscles on the sides of the trunk. So now we're going to have, Deb, why don't you come over and hold her feet? And we'll just have you hold her feet right there. And I'll hand her this tennis racket so she can have something to hang on to. And now she's going to put her arms out straight, and she's going to rotate her body side to side, okay, and twist. And the idea here is to get a full rotation so that you go all the way around 180 degrees, and by leaning back, you keep the stomach muscles on slight tension, and you really use the resistance of the racket to increase the overload on the abdominal muscles. That's super. Okay, Julie, thank you. Now, our next exercise, we're going to bring Rachel back in, and we're going to have a partner exercise where they use a towel as a prop or a device for exercise. And we're going to have Rachel put her feet out wide, and Julie will put her feet out wide. And Rachel will hang on to the towel. Julie will grab both ends. And Julie's the one that's exercising, and Rachel is the one who's acting as the resistance here. So she's going to pull or offer resistance to Julie as Julie performs what's called a seated row. Okay, Julie, now you're going to pull the towel to you, and we're going to see Julie pulling the towel right into her abdominal area. And then she lets go, and then she pulls again. Now she keeps her back straight, and what we're trying to do here is we're really trying to work on those muscles that support the shoulder blades in the upper back. So she's really going to try and pinch the shoulder blades together as she performs the exercise. How's that feel? Can you feel that?
I can feel it.
Great. Now, of course, we can reverse the positions of the athletes so that Rachel now performs the exercise and Julie provides the resistance. So let's switch the towel around. And Rachel will now pull the towel in the seated row exercise, and Julie will provide the resistance. Now this is good because it promotes cooperation between the athletes and actually serves as a motivation tool so that they tend to urge each other on and get the maximal out of each exercise. All right, thanks gang. Our next exercise is going to incorporate the use of surgical tubing again. Surgical tubing is one of those items that's easy to pack and carry with you. So now we're going to have Rachel shift around here, and we're going to do a leg exercise, which is kind of a total leg exercise. And we're going to incorporate the surgical tubing as a resistance, and it's called the leg press. So Rachel will bend her leg up, she'll hold the surgical tubing tight, and then she'll press out against it. And in this particular exercise, this is a real functional exercise because it incorporates both the use of the quadriceps and the hamstring muscles at the same time. The quadriceps on the front of the thigh and the hamstrings on the back of the thigh. Good. Keep pressing. And of course we do both legs, both right and left, for the same number of repetitions. Thank you, Rachel. Now sometimes you're going to want to put a little competition into your exercise routine because it serves as a motivation factor and it also helps in the spirit of things. So we're going to use a prop as simple as a piece of newspaper here. We're going to give one to Deb, one to Julie, and they're going to hold it straight out. And the contest is to see who can roll the piece of paper up the fastest into a single wad in this hand alone. All right, girls, you ready? Set, go! Oh, this looks close. It looks like Deb has a slight lead, but Julie is closing. Great competition. Boy, that's as close as it gets. It's hard to declare a winner on this one. This just goes to show you that you can do a lot of different exercises in a very simple setting. You don't need a lot of fancy equipment to maintain your strength and your general fitness level.
During cool down, we allow the body core temperature to return to normal through the use of exercises which decrease in intensity.
Cool down is an important part of any strength training program. We want to end our strength training program with activities that allow us to maintain our full range of motion and to maintain the suppleness in the muscles that we've been working. Here we have Chris doing some shoulder stretching exercises for the front of his shoulder as well as the tricep area and along the back area. Janelle is working at her hamstrings. She's stretching them using a figure 4 stretching and a straight leg raise stretching activity. And Emmett is doing a back rotational stretch to maintain his flexibility in the low back area. Cool down activities can include not only flexibility, but also cardiovascular types of activity done at a very slow pace. During the course of this video, we've discussed several principles that apply to strength training. We really hope that these principles will help you develop a safe and effective training program. Good luck with your game.